It was supposed to be just another peaceful morning. Soft sunlight spilled through the curtains, touching everything gently. Little Mia, barely 1 year old, crawled across the floor in her red onesie. Her laughter filled the room, pure, innocent, endless. But someone else was watching her every move. A small puppy named Max, only a few months old. He wore a bright pink harness, his ears too big for his head. He had grown up beside Mia, almost like her tiny guardian. But lately, his behavior had changed. Every time Mia crawled, Max would stand over her protectively. He wouldn't bark, wouldn't move, just shield her with his body. At first, everyone laughed, calling it adorable. But her mother began noticing something deeper in his eyes. Not just playfulness, but fear, like he sensed something they didn't. That day, when they turned on the camera to record her giggles, they never imagined what they would capture. A moment so powerful, so pure, it would silence the world. Because what Max did next, no one would have believed without seeing it for themselves. It began like any other morning, calm, safe, familiar. The house smelled of pancakes and laughter filled the air. Mia's mother was decorating for her baby's first birthday. Tiny balloons swayed gently near the fireplace. And in the corner, Max sat quietly, watching it all. His eyes followed Mia as she crawled across the carpet. Every tiny giggle made his tail wag. But every stumble made him tense, ready to move. To anyone else, it was just cute behavior. To him, it was duty. Mia's father laughed. Look at him. He thinks he's her bodyguard. Everyone chuckled, thinking it was just instinct. But they didn't see what the camera would later reveal. The moments when Max froze for no reason. The way he positioned himself between her and the door. Even when Mia crawled under the table, he followed. He wasn't playing, he was protecting. Something deep inside told him to stay close, to never let her out of sight. That morning, his loyalty began its test. The test no one saw coming. The test that would turn him from pet to hero. And the world was about to witness it all. Because that tiny pink harness would soon shine like armor. And love would prove stronger than fear. That night, Mia's mother couldn't sleep. Something about Max's behavior kept replaying in her mind. He wasn't restless. He was guarding something unseen. Each time she peeked into the nursery, he was there, standing over Maya like a silent sentinel. She whispered to her husband, "He acts like he's scared." He shrugged. "He's a puppy. Maybe he just likes her scent." But she couldn't shake the feeling. This wasn't normal. So the next morning, she set up a small camera, just to see what really happened when they weren't around. Hours passed. The footage looked ordinary at first. Mia playing, Max following her every crawl. Sometimes he'd nudge her gently, guiding her away from corners. Other times, he'd stand above her, alert and still, almost like he was waiting for something. Then, just before noon, the unexpected began. Max's ears twitched sharply, his eyes locked on the hallway. He started barking, low, defensive, trembling. The baby froze, her giggle fading into silence. The mother rushed to check, but found nothing. Still, Max didn't calm down. He moved back to Mia, standing right above her again. It was as if he knew. Danger was near. Something unseen, something waiting. And the truth was about to crawl out of the shadows. Later that evening, the parents reviewed the recording. What they saw made their hearts stop in their chests. At first, the camera showed only the baby and the dog. But then, a faint movement near the curtain. Barely visible, like a dark ribbon sliding across the floor. The mother leaned closer, eyes wide with dread. It wasn't a toy. It wasn't a shadow. It was a snake. Thick, silent, moving toward the baby. And Max had seen it before anyone else did. He had sensed it, the danger they couldn't see. The snake slithered closer, its tongue flicking. Mia giggled, reaching her little hand toward it. But Max leaped in front of her with a growl. He placed himself directly between her and death. His body trembling, but his eyes burning with courage. He barked, loud enough to shake the room. The snake recoiled, then moved again. Max barked louder, a cry for help, a plea for time. Seconds later, the mother burst into the room. And what happened next left her in tears. The baby sat safely under Max's chest. The snake turned toward the noise and struck. But Max lunged first. A flash of motion, bravery in its purest form. And in that moment, a puppy became a savior. The mother screamed, the father ran in. The snake hissed and coiled, ready to strike again. Max stood his ground, teeth bared, trembling but fearless. His instincts were louder than his pain. He barked once more, sharp, commanding, desperate. The father grabbed a broom, hitting the floor near the snake. It slithered back toward the corner, hissing in rage. Meanwhile, Max refused to move from Mia's side. Even when the danger was gone, he wouldn't rest. His paw bulled, a small mark, a silent sacrifice. The mother fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. She hugged the baby close, whispering prayers. The father carried Max gently to the car. "Hang in there, boy. Please hang in there." His hands trembled as he drove to the vet. Hours passed in unbearable silence. The family waited, hearts heavy with guilt and love. The vet finally appeared and smiled softly. "He's going to make it," she said. "He took the bite, but he's strong, stronger than most." Tears flowed freely that night. They had almost lost both, their baby and their hero. But love had stepped in between life and death, and a furry guardian had proven what words never could. That courage comes from the heart, not from size. News spread faster than the morning sun. A puppy saves a baby from a venomous snake. The story melted hearts across the town. Strangers came to visit, leaving toys and treats. Max became a symbol of loyalty, courage, and love. But for Mia's parents, the camera footage was personal. They couldn't stop watching that moment again and again. The second he leaped, the way he shielded her, it wasn't luck. It was love, unconditional, divine. A love that didn't think twice before risking everything. Max soon returned home, weaker but alive. Mia crawled toward him, her tiny hands on his fur. He wagged his tail gently, lowering his head beside her. For a moment, the house was silent. Only heartbeats spoke. And everyone felt the same truth. If there hadn't been a camera, no one would believe such love existed. But love doesn't wait for proof. It simply acts. And in that moment, the world saw what a heart can do. Even the smallest soul can carry the biggest courage. Weeks passed, and the house returned to calm. Mia learned to stand, to laugh again without fear. But something in her eyes always searched for Max. Whenever he slept, she'd crawl close and rest her hand on him. No one taught her that. It came from somewhere deeper. Sometimes she'd babble, whispering sounds only he understood. He'd lift his head, ears twitching, tail still. Their bond wasn't built by words but by hearts. The camera no longer needed to record proof of love. Every look, every breath between them told the story. The mother would pause at the doorway, watching quietly. She realized how much one act of bravery had changed them. Max wasn't just a pet anymore. He was family. He had taken fear and replaced it with faith. He had shown what true devotion means. When the wind rustled the curtains, Max would still glance up, always alert, always ready. But when he looked back at Mia, his eyes softened. Because he knew his reason to live was right there. A protector reborn as a guardian angel in fur. The story reached the local news station. Soon, cameras surrounded the small suburban home. Reporters wanted interviews, pictures, every little detail. But the family only said one sentence that silenced everyone. He didn't save her because he had to. He saved her because he loved her. The vet confirmed the venom was deadly. Had Max hesitated for even 2 seconds, Maya wouldn't be alive. The town held a small ceremony in his honor. Children carried handmade signs saying, "Thank you, Max." People cried as they heard what he had done. For once, the world paused to celebrate kindness. A story not of money or fame, but of instinct and love. The camera that once caught danger now captured gratitude. And Max sat there quietly, unaware of his glory. To him, it had never been a rescue, just another day protecting his friend. In that moment, the town remembered something vital. Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they walk on 4 legs, in silence. And their loyalty speaks louder than any medal. That truth spread farther than anyone expected. Days later, someone uploaded the footage online. The internet erupted with disbelief and tears. Millions watched the tiny baby crawl beside the dog. And then, the leap, the shield, the unthinkable bravery. The clip was only 30 seconds long, but it felt eternal. Comments flooded in from every corner of the world. I didn't believe love like this still existed. Animals have souls purer than we can imagine. People donated money to animal shelters in Max's name. Others adopted dogs, inspired by what they had witnessed. Television shows replayed the story again and again. But behind all the headlines, the family stayed humble. They never turned it into fame or fortune. They just wanted people to remember what it meant. To love something more than yourself. Every view, every share carried a message. That the world isn't dark when hearts like Max still beat. And that one small act can remind millions of hope. The camera had shown more than footage. It had shown the power of pure love unfiltered. Years passed quietly, soft as candlelight. Mia grew taller, her laughter echoing through the same halls. Max grew slower, his steps heavier, his eyes wiser. He no longer ran to chase shadows, just memories. But his gaze never left the little girl he once saved. Sometimes she'd sit beside him, reading stories aloud. He'd listen, tail thumping softly against the floor. The scar on his paw had faded, but the memory never did. It was their silent promise, sealed in that single day. The day courage met innocence and changed destiny. One night, he rested his head beside her bed. She whispered, "You can sleep now. Max, I'm safe." The moonlight fell gently over them both. Time stood still. Love didn't. It had grown stronger, deeper, eternal. The parents watched quietly from the doorway. They didn't interrupt that moment, because they knew love like this didn't need words. It was written in the way he looked at her one last time, and in the way she smiled, unknowingly saying goodbye. The next morning, the house felt different. Still, peaceful, almost sacred. Max had passed in his sleep, curled near her crib. No struggle, no sound, just peace. The family buried him under the oak tree in their garden. Mia placed her favorite toy beside the small headstone. She whispered, "Thank you for saving me." The wind carried her words softly through the branches, and for a moment, they swore they felt his presence again, as if he was still watching, still guarding, still there. Years later, Mia became a vet herself. She dedicated her career to protecting animals in need. On her clinic's wall hung a single photo, Max and her as a baby. Beneath it, a simple line was written, "Some angels don't fly. They walk beside us." The footage remained online, timeless and untouched. Every view reminded people of what love truly means. And though years faded and memories blurred, one truth stayed clear. If there wasn't a camera, no one would have believed it. But love doesn't wait for proof. It just saves. Sometimes, the greatest stories aren't told. They're felt. What Max did wasn't instinct. It was love in its truest form. A love that didn't think, didn't pause, just acted. He proved that courage has no language, and loyalty needs no words. We often look for miracles in the sky, but forget those beside us. Sometimes, a wagging tail can hold more devotion than a promise. Max didn't need fame, reward, or recognition. He only needed to keep one heartbeat safe. And he did. That single act of selfless bravery reminded the world of something. That protection isn't born from strength, but from love. That family isn't bound by blood. It's chosen by the heart. And that even in silence, a loyal friend can speak louder than fear. If there hadn't been a camera, people might have doubted it. But love doesn't need witnesses. It needs truth. It's what stays when everything else fades. What saves us when nothing else can. Because sometimes, the smallest creatures teach us the biggest lessons. And in the end, Max's story wasn't about a rescue. It was about faith. Faith that love, in its purest form, never dies. It just changes form.